So, hello and welcome to the session. My name is Stephan Wolf. I'm Systems Engineer for Network and Security at VMware. And today I want to show you how to migrate apps from any cloud to any cloud. So, the problem that VMware has today with migrations is not that we not have the necessary tools. We have it. We have a lot of tools, and that's the problem. We have too much tools. We have assessment tools like DICE, like Live Optics. We have the VMC Sizer. We have Excel sheets. Then we can make app discovery with Network Insight, or now it's called Aria Operations for networks. And we also can do the migration with HCX, so we can live migrate the VMs from one cloud to another. And then we can monitor it and rebalance it with Aria Operations, or which is previously called vRealize Automation, vRealize Operations. So let's go to a little bit deeper in the single components, and then we come to the solution how we can solve this whole bunch of tools and how we can orchestrate it. So with Aria Operations for networks, we can do app discovery. So what happens is, you have, for example, your data center, you have your ESXi server. On your ESXi server, you have your VMs running and your vCenter. What we do is, we configure the virtual distributed switch and send NetFlow data over to Aria Operations for networks. So this NetFlow data, IP fixed data, which VM communicates with other VMs over which TCP ports, etc. This data will be analyzed from Aria Operations for networks. And then we can say exactly how this web server, these three web servers communicate with this app, and this app server communicates with this database servers. And then we group them and knows this VMs belongs together. This is one application, for example, SAP. And then what's happened is this groups that we built it, for example, for the 6 VMs we had, and we know that this is SAP, can we then import into HCX, and HCX then is doing the migration. So how we do the migration with HCX. So with HCX, we have here the source data center on this side. We have the VMs. We group them, so we know this is the SAP. This is SAP, contains 6 VMs, and then we start to replicate the data over. We replicate the data, hard drive, memory, and CPU cache. And when we synchronize it, we can define a switchover, for example, Saturday night, 12 o'clock. When this point is reached, then we make the switch over, and the VMs will be all at the same time active on the other side. And so we have the migration done for the, for example, SAP application. And how we orchestrate all these different tools, the assessment tools, vRealize Automation, vRealize Operations, and also HCX, and also Aria Operations for networks. We have Tanzu Transformer. Tanzu Transformer was last year introduced as Aria Migration, now rebranded to Tanzu Transformer. And it's just one console, one view, and you can do all the things. You can do discovery, you can do the logical grouping that you saw, you can do TCO, REO analysis. You can say, okay, this maybe migration costs me this and this when I migrate to this and this cloud. And you can also do planning with your departments and say, give me approvals and include this approval flow when the specific application can migrate it. And we can also do including Tanzu guardrails. So when you want to add compliances, when you say, okay, this application for compliance reasons should always run on this cloud or never on this cloud, you can also include the compliance stuff and also secure the application. And when we leverage HCX, when we want to say, okay, let's now migrate these VMs over, we orchestrate HCX for you with Tanzu Transformer. So we trigger HCX and say, now move the VMs from one data center to another. And you can also, when the migration is done, continuously monitor it with vRealize Automation, vRealize Operations, and which is now called Aria Operations. And then we can say, okay, there is a better way to run it more cost effectively in the other cloud, or maybe there and there. Then we can move again and say, okay, we start the process from scratch. And now we can plan the next migration and found a better place, better cloud to run that. Okay, let's go into the demo of Tanzu Transformer. So we have here, this is the Tanzu Transformer UI. We see here, for example, we discovered 100 applications that contains 2,000 VMs. We added one vCenter. And we also see that this is a cloud console. We can access the cloud console via the VMware Cloud Service Portal. And for example, when we click in, we see all the other cloud services. We see Aria Operations, we see Aria Operations for Networks, HCX. It's not only that we can access the different tools, but we can also get the data from. So when we say make a migration, we trigger HCX to do the migration. When we want to see groups, we see the groups. So, and also, you can also see the other things, like, for example, our collection proxies or collector VMs from Aria Operations for Networks. We see them here in the view, and they will send their data, for example, the grouping data, the flow data, so we know which application belongs together. We can add all this, so we can onboard all your different installations you have. What we can also do is, we can say, for example, we have accounts in clouds like Azure, Google, etc. We can add these accounts, and so we can view also the context, what is in the clouds. And we can also start assessments and save the results. So, for example, assessments of an on-premise one. And now we can, for example, start a new assessment to look what is inside my on-premise data center. So as a source, I select on-premise data center. As a target, I can select, for example, AWS or VMC on AWS. And then I say, okay, I give them a nice name, for example, VMC VCN demo. And then I can start the assessment. So automatically we will analyze what kind of VMs are in, which VMs belongs together to which application. And I can make, for example, here the storage view. So I have high storage, medium storage, low storage. And I can also say, I can hover over and see which VMs belongs together, how is the name for the groups, see which VMs are in these groups. And I can also do filtering. For example, I can also say, filter me by tag. So if you use the vSphere vCenter tags, we can filter for vCenter tags if your application are there. Also, we can do search for memory or filter by vSphere clusters. If you want to do your migration cluster-wise, you can select the appropriate cluster and then you can migrate it. Or if you're working with vCenter folders, you can also filter by vCenter folders, and you only see this what has happened inside or which VMs are inside the folder container. And if you want to do it VLAN-wise, you can select VLAN. And for example, if you say you want to extend the networks, the VLAN to the public cloud, for example, VLAN 1, VLAN 2 to the public cloud, you extend the networks and you can do the migration VLAN-wise. And you can also recalculate TCO. So then we see, for example, hey, we have an AWS, VMC on AWS installation that cost me for this migration maybe 7 million in this case. And we can also work with the appropriate price that we get. So we can also say what cost me this when I do 1 year or 3 years, when I do monthly payment, when I do host type, which kind of host type. And I can also include the discount level. So that means these prices are very granular and right. So you can also plan from not only technical side, but also financially, make it sense to do the migration or not. And then we can also include very granular storage costs, networking costs inside that we have. And what you not have in the private cloud, egress costs. We also add the egress costs because in the private cloud you don't have egress costs. That's traffic for free. But in the public cloud, you have egress costs. And so then you can also hover over, and why we know how much traffic you produce, it's very easy, because Network Insight, or now it's called Aria Operations for Networks, analyze the flows, know exactly how much traffic you produce in your data center today with this application that can filter it, and can say, okay, if you produce the same amount of traffic in the public cloud, this would be your price for traffic, for example. And we do not only this for VMC on AWS, we also add the other clouds, one after another in the future. And that's the cool thing is then you can really granular decide which is the best cloud to run. And then you can say, okay, make it sense maybe after a half year re-evaluate it, make it sense maybe to move the VMs to another cloud. So it makes much more easier to do the migration. And you have one single console that do all the things for you. So no longer go directly into Aria Operations, no longer go directly in HCX. You can all do all the things, all the migration stuff from here. All what we have. So there's no need to use 5 tools. You have just one tool, and that triggers all your other tools for you. So human errors can be avoided with it. So with that, thank you for your attention. If you have questions, we can do it offline after the presentation. If you want to contact me, here's my email address. Please take the survey. And I want to say thank you for your attention, and bye-bye.